Welcome to another episode of Reclaiming America. This is Bill.
I'm Dan.
And we're here to tell you the solutions to the problems of the world, common sense solutions that we have obviously thought out, so we must be brilliant.
Well, one of us is.
Thank you.
We're starting off already.
One of us is, and he pointed to me. That takes care of
Oh,
that.
I didn't.
That's how smart you are. You picked out the brilliant one.
Oh, okay. Where are we going today, Mr. Bill?
I think we should go to World War III.
Oh, why not? We're almost there. Well, actually, we're pretty much in it.
We just haven't made it formal.
Yeah,
It's
we
almost like the Korean War. It hasn't
Yeah,
been declared
pretty
yet.
much.
Yeah.
Or well, we have a proxy fighting war, but anyway.
Yeah, well, Korea, we brought a lot of people over to help us fight too.
True.
You know, and we paid for them to
And
be
we
there.
fought the Chinese then.
Yep.
And Russians, I believe Russian pilots were involved. They talked about that. Flying MiGs against our guys in Korea.
Yeah, and we managed to push him back to the magic line.
So what goes around comes around yet again.
Yep,
History is repeating itself.
And that war hasn't ended yet. Excuse me,
Exactly.
that police action.
So really, we're just refighting that, just a little bigger.
We're taking off the armistice. That's really what we're up to now.
So
anyway, what are we talking about? We're talking about Ukraine and what's going on in the world, thanks to an administration that is so weak they can't even control their bladder.
oh dear God, I'll bet you saved that one up for all night.
No, that was just something spontaneous.
You know he does wear diapers, by the way.
Yeah, but he uses them for a hat. That's the problem. He dual uses them.
They literally got pictures of it.
I'm sure
they're out there.
Yeah, and I'm sure he uses them when he goes out into the sun too to cover his head.
Go check Twitter or X or whatever the hell it is. Anyway, well, go on.
Anyway, if you've seen what's going on just this week in the world, let's go to Ukraine, where our government is requesting to send another, I think it's $48 billion with a B.
Oh, I heard 25. Is it now up to 48?
I believe it's 25 in military and another 13 in economic.
That's the way. Okay.
Or it's anyway. They want a bunch of money going there, and of course, the one problem that they're going to have is the Republicans have already stated that they will not fund this again unless there's accountability where the money's going.
Go on.
He has a problem.
Yeah, it's called Kevin McCarthy.
We're going to stop them from spending the money until the time comes and we have to
Somebody
spend
won
it.
$2 million,
and then we're going to sit back and let them do it.
There.
I apologize for him, ladies and gentlemen.
Except our
He
producers.
used to be a very, very intelligent man, and then
Our
ever
producers
since
over
he
there
hit
going,
his head.
Yep. He agrees with me again.
Yep.
He's going to hold a hearing to have a committee meeting to hold a hearing.
Anyway, we're
about
back
committee.
to the war.
Go on.
Different segment you're in.
Jumping the gun.
We're back to the war. So anyway, we want another $25 billion to follow the $100 billion we've sent there without any accountability. No one knows where the money's going when it gets there. I have strong suspicion that we ought to check out the bank accounts of the
Careful.
Biden crime family.
And we're banned.
Not that I would indicate that the president, his brother, his sister, and his son, and anybody else are involved in it, but they've got more shell companies than the beach has shells. So,
That's saying something, and the sad part is you're right.
probably right, yes. So anyway, we have that going on. In addition to that,
Wait a minute. Are you saying he's sending money over there and it might possibly be being returned?
I'm not sure it just went over there. I think it just might have.
Oh.
He said it was going, and it probably went to someplace else.
Next thing you'd be telling me that, members of his family are sitting on Burisma's board.
No, that would never happen
Getting
because that
paid
would be illegal.
$83 million or
Yeah, but don't forget,
but
he has a son that can throw paint against the wall like a good monkey and just sell that for
my God.
$500,000.
Wow. Why would you insult monkeys like that?
I do apologize,
I apologize to all simians
King
across the
Kong and
world.
all you friends like that. I am sorry for insulting your
What was that?
intelligence.
Oh, Curious George?
You're curious, George.
Poor Curious George.
Yeah, that's true. That's a
Boy,
good,
did we
it's
just
good
date
analogy.
ourselves. Did they do Curious George?
I remember reading about Curious George.
You probably.
We're going to go there,
Too
okay?
easy. Nope, go ahead.
Anyway, so we have that piece of the Ukrainian war that we want to go with. And you got to think about this. With everything that they're proving that this group is taking money from all around the world, people have copies and videos and tapes and documents that he did this. This is called blackmail. So if you don't let me do what I want to do, I'm going to tell the world what you did.
Extortion, Bill, not blackmail.
Same difference.
No.
The other thing that the Ukrainian friends have decided is all Russian ships in the Black Sea are now fair targets to be sunk. That's going to go over
All
well.
Russian ships in
Yep.
the Black. Who said that?
The Ukraines.
I'm okay with them doing that, but that they have to do it, not using our weapons.
If we take away their weapons, they're gonna swim over with a can opener and try to open the damn
Well,
thing.
they got the cruiser that way, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, you've got that going on. Poland is so worried about the Russian satellite, I think it's Belarus? Belarus, I'm sorry. Who, you know me with names. That's why I call a lot of people by their nicknames. But they're actually
Great.
moving 10,000 of their troops to the border and in anticipation of a possible invasion. Now, we're hoping in Poland they went to the right border, but...
Wow! Oh dear, I am going to step out of frame here. Wow! Go keep going. I'm letting you sink yourself today. Go ahead. Wow.
So far, have I insulted
let's
enough
see.
people?
Belarus, Ukraine, Russia, North Korea.
I haven't done North Korea yet.
Yeah, you did. We talked about the war, and now Poland. You've
I
already
haven't got
insulted
to know.
them all.
Well, I'm ready to take China on in a bigger district too. While all this is going on in the rest of the world, you have China preparing for the eventual attack of Taiwan, and you know it's happening because they're sending their ships right up to this unofficial dividing line in the water, and they're actually flying some attack planes or jets right across there, just breaking the area. This is all tests to see what's going on. So if you don't think it's coming, people, we're heading for big trouble under administration that nobody respects. Not even a mirror respects the reflection these people give. So it's...
Keep going. I haven't said a word yet. Go ahead.
So anyway,
I'm enjoying
what's your
the hell out of
thoughts?
it. Wow. Oh, now I get to talk. By the way, did you hear they're talking about reinstating the draft?
They already have the draft.
No, they have selective service sign up.
They have registration, but they can't reinstate the draft because they're going to lose in court because they're not going to make it the way the Israelis run it.
Well, the talk is, because they can't hit their recruitment numbers, that once you get to the end of the year, this is not official, but this is what the proposal is. Once you get to the end of the year, whatever the gap is, they're going to draft that many people to fill the gap, dude. So if your target's 100,000 and you get 50 and you need 50,000 men, because we don't draft women.
That's where you're going to be back in court again.
Yeah, but in the meantime, they're executive order, they're drafted.
And you get a court injunction that goes nowhere.
And who's going to file that?
Some men's group like Men Need to Be Heard, and they're going to go out forward and battle that
There is
war
talk
out.
about that, but yeah. I mean, what a mess we're in.
Yeah, and we're not even...
You've got, how many ships was it came up to our...
We had 11 of the Chinese Russian flotilla, for want of a better term.
The fact that they're flotillaing
Yep.
together...
And coming just outside the international waters of Alaska, and we reacted by sending 4 of our frigates in that direction.
4 against 11.
Well, yeah, we probably could
Pretty
beat
fair
them
fight.
because we actually have bullets.
Well, the other part of it, too, is I'm sure there were a few undersea adventurers nearby that...
Nah.
Destroyers wouldn't have even gotten one shot off because...
That's probably true.
couple LA class subs and game over. But, it's...
just another example of not being respected. Now, go to South America, where they had this big meeting this past week to discuss what they're doing about economics and how to save the Amazon. And they have people coming from around the world to discuss how to save the rainforest. And they didn't invite the beachcomber and his people to send someone down to the meeting to represent our country. But they did accept the $500 billion that we've committed, or 500 million, I'm not sure about the B or the M.
Yeah, it's not billion, it's million.
A million, that we're going to donate because we have all this extra money laying around, and we're going to help to save the Amazon. So if you look around the world, and that's not even getting into the Middle East with Iran.
Keep going. I'm just going to sit here and smile today because he's on a roll.
Iran is rattling sabers, and we're negotiating with them again to try and come up with a treaty to replace the bad treaty that we did under the Obama administration. We're trying to see if we can get something worse, and they're working on it. And they're working hard to come up with something worse. And the Iranians are sticking their thumbs at them and just saying, we don't need to talk to you. You're irrelevant. The Saudis are looking at us and saying, you're irrelevant. I mean, so our stature in the world is nil.
Oh,
anyway, so what's your thoughts?
Wow. Oh, you said that before, and I'm still waiting for you to stop. We're a laughing stock in the world. But, overall, I'm just kind of going to step back, take a breath, because you're kind of fired up. You know, you think about the warships first of all. So again, sending warships off our coast. The Russians did that back in the day. We all knew that. It's part of the game. I get all that. My fear is, one, back then it was just Russia. So if it was just Russia or just China, they're playing the game. The two of them together, that's sending a pretty strong signal that, you know, back channels are happening between those two countries. And should we have to defend Taiwan, we're also going to be going into Ukraine, obviously.
And we can't fight in two
It's
fronts.
going to be NATO versus...
Because we have to rent the ships to get there.
You know, it's... Again, they're trying to do a show of force. They're also probing, right? To be fair. Same thing with Taiwan, like you talked about. They're overflying Taiwan. And we sit back and go, please don't do that. That's not very nice. Instead of putting a couple F-22s up their
Well,
ass.
don't forget, we could do exactly what we did and follow the balloon that went across the country. Once it was safely across the country, we took that sucker down in a Philadelphia minute.
With an F-22, no less.
It cost us about $10 billion to take down that one little thing.
$10,000 a minute to fly the plane and $1 million missile.
You know, and speaking on that same thing, the other thing which many people don't realize, with all our adversaries, major adversaries, we tend to have what we call military-to-military contact, where our head military talks to their head military. And not that we trust each other, but you give people warnings so there's no surprises. So we're going to do a military exercise next month.
Yeah.
So we know you're doing it. Do we think it's possible going to be a ruse? Yeah, but at least they're aware of it, and there's no surprises.
Or no accident.
China cut off that access to us a little while ago, and this flotilla was a total surprise.
Yes and no. I mean, they obviously knew they were coming across the ocean.
It's not that many miles between the Bering Strait on either side. Remember, you can see Russia from there.
I know that, but I'm trying. You are woof. Be fired up, my friends. You know, it's again. This is all signs of what's to come. And anyone, God forbid that this happens, but anyone with half a brain gotta look at this and go, they ain't doing this for fun. They're probing our defenses. They're probing our reactions. They're probing our resiliency to respond, and
our ability to respond.
F on every one of them.
And F does not stand for fine job.
No, or F-22. You know, if as an ex-military person, if you were probing a defense and you saw our response, would you be all that worried about making an attack?
If nothing else, it would encourage me to do same.
Yeah, that's my point.
If my hires wanted it done, I would give them the go-ahead. We can make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually scary to me. I just think, you know, I got thinking about this the other day. 24's coming. You know, as we're filming this, 14, 15 months from the election.
And maybe 16, 18 months from a new president.
Potentially a new president.
Well, getting a new president, one or the other.
All right. We'll see, I guess. But my point being, the clock's ticking. This time next year, I don't want to put odds on it, like a number, but I think it's fairly safe to assume that we might be in a war at this a year from now.
The odds are pretty good.
And that is going to be ungodly, that war. This is not going to be as bad as something like Pearl Harbor was, where roughly 2,000 people died, give or take. You know, you take out one carrier of ours, that's 5,000
people.
dead. Just the carrier.
And don't forget, it travels with a group of about another 20 ships.
Right. And because they will nuke it to get it. And on the other side of it, how many young Chinese men would die? How many Ukrainian men have died? How many Russian men have died? And that's just the people doing the fighting. Now let's add in the civilians. You're talking, how many died in World War II, ballpark? A lot. 60, 70 million, would you say?
The Germans are responsible for civilian side of the house
Everything.
for killing, well, over 12 million people.
Right.
Civilian
You
side
got
of the house.
that, and you got the army. Like Russia lost like 50 million people.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know, let's just pick a number and say 200 million. I don't know how accurate that is.
Or
but
wounded or dead. You know, wounded or dead. Call it a casualty.
Attached, whatever.
Because that could be
this
either.
This is going to make that look like child's play.
Unfortunately,
You know,
you're right.
When you're launching potentially thousands of missiles at a base or bases or countries, the carnage is going to be unbelievable. And the best way to prevent that from happening is to stop everything we can right now.
The best way is to show that we actually mean what we say.
That's what I'm saying.
And dig in there and decide that we are America, and either go to isolationism and tell the rest of the world to go to hell, or do what we need to do to prove to bullies that we will do what we need to, because bullies will only back down when they got someone in their face.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whether you like Trump or not, the 4 years he was there, we didn't have any of this because, first of all, he was not a big war fan, but secondly, they all thought he was crazy enough they didn't know what he was going to do. And probably that's true. I'm not sure he knew what he was going to do.
I was just about to say, and that's a fair statement you just made there, Bill.
But we were a safer world because of him.
Only president in my lifetime that didn't start a war of some sort. A fight.
And ended one, actually.
Yeah. I actually am really fearful at this point. Genuinely. Not, trying to be crazy. I'm not turning into a prepper or any of that. But if you objectively look at this and look what's going on, all the signs are there. Just like these things happened prior to World War II, similar type stuff. Prior to World War I, although a little bit lesser there because that kind of got triggered off an assassination. But it's
most wars, they need an excuse to get it started. So they assassinated the King Ferdinand or Duke Ferdinand.
Yeah, that one. But
and if it wasn't him, it would be somebody else.
Right.
And they will look for an excuse to start a combat operation. So it could have been the Duke. It could be someone. Could have been the sinking of the Lusitania, for example.
Yeah, that would have been.
Which we still don't know exactly who took that one down.
Everybody's going, "What's that?" Bill was alive then.
And go to world. There is some discussion how much the United States knew about the attack on Pearl Harbor.
Yes, that's now you're really getting into conspiracy theories.
I'm not. I'm just there's
it's
some information out there. Thing. I don't think they knew exactly when it was going to happen, but at the same token, it had to happen to get us into the war.
We had already broken the code, so they had to know something.
Yeah.
But my fear would be, forget even that. My fear would be, let's say Russia, Ukraine's doing their counteroffensive probes right now. They have made some progress, but they're slogging it out. But let's say they do manage to break through and head towards, I'll throw out Crimea. Putin's going to go nuke at that point. We've talked about that before. Okay, now we're in it. It could be that quick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally minutes away.
And, so what bothers me, normally if you're paying for the war and you're providing the materials to fight the war, you kind of control the country you're in. You don't do what we want, we'll cut you off.
Or is it vice versa right now?
And that's where I'm heading. Or do we have enough on this administration to simply say, if you don't give me what I need, we'll tell the world what we got on you?
Yeah. Do you think that's a possibility, Bill?
About the same as sitting at the beach in Delaware counting the number of waves coming in and handling those issues.
Yeah, you look at another 50 billion going over whatever the number ends up being with no oversight. And there won't be any oversight. We'll talk about that more in a bit. I'm going to get him mad again. See, he knows what's coming.
I never get upset. I always keep a solid, low-key presentation.
But, if you are concerned about any of this, you should be. And if you're not, you should be. I guess I said that backwards. Because we are literally minutes away at any point right now. It's, what was the doomsday clock? We were like 1 minute to midnight.
Yeah, I think it was 5 minutes at max.
I think we're at like 11:59:58 right now. I mean, it's literally that. And it wouldn't take an overt action. It could be accidental. If you're running planes up to Taiwan and some kid who's 18 years old sitting at a missile battery hits a button by accident, 1 billion people could die. I mean, it literally, I'm not saying that to scare people. That's the reality we're looking at right now.
Or, which even scares me more, let's launch another weather balloon and have it cross over the country, this time with an EMP in it.
Well, we've talked about that in the past.
And now we can do nothing because they've fried every piece of electronics in this country.
Well, the military's hardened against that, aren't they?
They're hardened. They go into their bunker and they say, "Give me some bullets that'll fit into this, and we'll shoot it out."
Aren't the tanks hardened against that?
Except for the computers in them.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
They don't harden against that? I already know the answer, but
Yes, you should know the answer to that. But that fire acquisition setup in there is all
now you
computerized.
go old school then, right? You're peeking through the periscope.
Or actually, you can do the sight and you can gunner. All right, gunner left 200, right 200. Gunner too late. We've been blown up.
It's just we are this close,
And I'm afraid we are.
and that
And I'm not very optimistic about the next 6 months or so.
what prediction wise, because we only got a couple minutes. Are we in a war a year from now? Yes or no? What's your opinion?
I'm afraid we are.
I agree. I say yes.
And now it's time for us to shut down this segment and pay a lot of bills and take a break because our producer says we've talked enough.
And then we're going to come back, and it's going to be let's piss Bill off some more.
Better to be pissed off than pissed on.
All right. Back in a couple of minutes.
Welcome back again for the next segment of Reclaiming America. Here's my good friend Dan, who's tried to keep up with me today. And,
I am failing miserably at that.
and I'm Bill, and we're going to just discuss some of the issues around the country and the world. In this segment, we're going to be looking at our own country. We're looking into D.C. We're looking into, which is a little like, a proctologist operation. And
Well, what part of DC? Oh, there is so much to talk about DC right now. Where would you like to start?
why don't we discuss the Biden crime family, or the alleged crime family?
The alleged crime. There you
Which
go.
alleged, by the way, is a definition of the word true. So now that I've got that off my chest,
Okay.
if
which part of it do you want to discuss? Because there's
well, let's start with the fact that Merrick Garland, our leader of the Justice Department and our Attorney General, isn't he?
former proposed
Former Supreme Court Justice,
nominee.
which fortunately we didn't get him there because they really didn't need another custodian working there, and because all he does is make messes and have to clean them up at best.
When the
he can.
NSA knocks on your door tonight, don't come crying to me. Go on.
You want to talk about that guy in Utah?
We can talk about that too, but
He's decided to appoint a new special prosecutor to deal with the Hunter Biden and related cases. So
how nice of him to do that.
He has picked a guy out of Louisiana who was the guy responsible for the last plea agreement, the sugar daddy agreement, where it basically said, we apologize for charging you, and we're sorry we did that, and we're going to probably pay you money because we don't want you to be upset with us. But that plea agreement, which was thrown out, fortunately, by a judge. You want to jump in here anytime soon?
No, I'm just going to sit back and let you go. This is too much fun. So, yeah, Merrick. So, who's supposed to be overseeing Merrick Garland, by the way?
Well, he's supposed to report to the president, and he's also supposed to have supervision from the Congress.
Let's go there. Bill's like, please no.
We're not done with this.
All right. Yeah, but I know you're going to try and avoid that one.
Not moi.
Boo.
I will readily admit when a Democrat's wrong.
Yeah.
And the 1 or 2 Republicans who do make a mistake, we'll mention them also.
1 or 200 out of 200 in Congress. But anyway.
You see, now there you go, just making false accusations. And
yet Greta's going, yeah. Go on.
I can't see her because she's hidden behind that.
So, yeah, all right. So,
I mean,
here's the thing. We're talking about Merrick Garland. We're talking about a runaway Department of Justice. Anyone who thinks that the alleged Biden crime family is not driving this bus is a fool, all right?
You think?
And, setting aside the crazies that think this is all made up, the average person looking at this, come on.
Why don't you tell people about the money trace that they've come up with the banks?
How many billion is it now? Because I had the wrong number.
I think we're up to 25 million.
25 or million.
Yeah, and the last thing I heard is they were tracing the 3.5 from the Russian
oligarchs.
oligarchs.
We were talking off air beforehand, and I had the wrong number, so it's up to 25 now.
That's the last numbers.
And where are they tracing that through?
The banks.
The banks.
And what has happened to that money? It seems to come in
just
to 2 places, and for some reason it goes out to 10 or 20 shell companies.
Owned by?
The crime family.
The alleged crime family.
No, the true crime family.
The mafia is going to be taking notes, by the way.
The mafia's upset because they're getting a bad name. They're
getting
giving them a
schooled.
bad name.
They are getting schooled.
But
yeah, it's again, we got to be fair and say maybe this isn't true. Wait. I paused for the eye roll. Okay, we're supposed to be journalists, Bill. We have to be fair. You know about Hawaii, right?
There's
The
a difference
unfortunate
between
people in
fair
Hawaii.
and stupid.
You know about the issue in Hawaii, right?
Are we talking about the fire that
You know,
destroyed
all that
that?
smoke.
Right.
So if you were just to look at the smoke, would it be fair to say there's probably a pretty good fire going there? God,
I
help
think that's
those
a
people.
fair statement.
This makes that look like
This is the wildfires coming out
come
of
on.
Canada.
How much proof do you need? At least something's going on that needs to be looked into.
And there's two questions nobody's asking that need to be answered on this money. Okay, first of all, what were they buying with the money? And no one's talking about why they would give people millions of dollars for no good reason. And if you're telling me it's used for good things or legal things, why is it necessary to send it through 20 shells to launder that money? So those two issues.
Here's the eye roll again. It's again. What's the solution?
2024 election and change things.
How's it going to change?
Electing a man that'll clean out the White House and clean out the Justice
Oh
Department.
boy, here we go. Cue it up, baby. He just served it right down the middle of the plate.
Yeah,
The president can only do so much. So I'm assuming you're talking about Mr. Trump.
I'm assuming that there's a fairly good chance that he's going to get reelected.
Assuming he's not in jail at that point.
If he is, I'm pretty.
And then he
fairly,
gets elected and then he
Here's where we get in
pardons
trouble. We've been talking about how to break him out if he gets arrested.
No, we haven't. Oh, no. FBI, that was him. Okay. I just find it amusing that they get him on one of these trumped up cases, pun intended, get it, trumped up case. All right. Let's say, New York gets him, whatever. He goes to jail. He's still in the election because even if he's not the Republican Party nominee, everybody's going to write his name in. Okay. Then he's president, sitting in jail, and he just pardons himself. That would be so awesome to see.
Except the only problem with that is that you can't be a felon and be president.
I know that, but
So you can't put something out there
at
that's
that
not
point,
real.
Bill, seriously, if enough people, if millions of people wrote his name in, if it got to that point, God help us. God, you know what would happen. This country's finished.
Oh, they put that man in jail. There's going to be, unfortunately, issues beyond people just showing up and walking into places.
Well-
And yeah, I said it.
Let's talk about. So he went in front of the D.C. court
Correct.
this week.
Where you could not only convict a ham sandwich and get him charged, you could.
Well, I got a theory for you.
Oh, I'm waiting for
You're
this
gonna
one.
like this one. You're gonna like conspiracy theory. Let me just say it outright. Conspiracy theory. So he goes into that courtroom. Now, let's assume it was you going in. You've been accused of all the things he's been accused of: inciting a riot, trying to overthrow the government, trying to basically commit treason. I mean, that's what they're accusing him. Mm-hmm. Do you think you walk out of that courtroom?
In chains.
Do you think you get even a bail hearing? Or, a dollar bail?
Probably not.
No, you're getting remanded, correct?
Most likely.
Now, you're just an average Joe. What if you were a billionaire that has property all over the world, a private jet that can get you out of the country like that? Would you not say he's a bigger flight risk than you?
Not in his case.
In general, work with me here.
Okay.
Does he have the means to leave?
He has the ability to disappear in a moment's notice,
Just like
and
that.
put money anywhere
And
in the
there's
world that he
nobody
could live for.
they could never touch him, right?
There's places he could
And
go.
what
That's
did
true.
they do? They released him on his own recognizance.
Because
Because they know they have no case.
because they also, to be fair, which is something with the left I really
fair?
do. The purpose for bail is to guarantee you'll show up in court.
Right.
And I don't think anybody in their right mind thinks that Sir Donald is not going to show up and defend himself.
Oh no, he's salivating.
He's looking forward for that
But my
opportunity.
point being, I hope you get my point, right? Anybody else, it does not matter. They're
You mean like
look at
Hunter?
or the January 6th committee. Every single person that they've charged.
Speaking of the January
Oh, boy.
6th committee,
We're going all over the place.
if you haven't heard this yet, when Kevin McCarthy was elected and he was going to
Bozo.
become Speaker of the House, he sent a message to Miss Pelosi, Queen of the Wild Frontier, and who was currently the
think she got
speaker
no
at the
dentist this
time,
week, but-
and she told them to secure all the documentation and videos and whatever else they had from the January 6th committee so that it could be reviewed by the new Congress. Well, they went out of their way to destroy most of it. You know, videos, papers, whatever else suddenly got destroyed. So, you know, my answer to that is if Trump is not allowed to look at that material which was used to develop the indictment, he cannot be tried on that. He's got to be acquitted because he has not the ability to defend himself.
What's McCarthy going to do about it? Send a strongly worded threat? That he might write a letter to form a committee to study this in detail so that they have enough evidence?
We're going to be on different sides on this one.
Oh, you better believe it. So I'm going down this road, Bill.
Go ahead.
Again, we're seeing how feckless and weak they are. How much more do we need for them to take action? Don't hit me with they're still studying crap. I am done with that.
And I've told you before, and I'll say it again, the American people have a short memory span. And that's a truth. That's a truth.
Okay.
You know, doing an impeachment now, we all know it's not going to work because the Senate will never impeach him. But I happen to agree it needs to happen. Okay? And Biden needs to be hit with that. And we'll get to Mr. McConnell on this in a few minutes.
Oh, boy.
Because I'm going after Mr. McConnell on that one.
Hold on. I got to get up off the floor on this.
However, to do it now, it'll be out of people's minds in 6 months. If you wait until the spring, it becomes part of the election, and it becomes part of the election cycle between March and November. And to me, politically, that makes a lot more sense. It does not get some of the more hotheads like my friend here that says, got to impeach him now, even though it won't happen and won't do any good, but I'm going to feel better by it. In the long run, they'll be better by it if it waits a few months.
Feeling better, my friend.
You know it's not going to work.
It's sending a message to this isn't about placating the public at all. This is about sending a message to the Democrats. We're going to play dirty too. We're not going to sit back and go, please don't do that.
Now, speaking on that, I'm going to take on my next favorite topic.
Oh boy. See, he's trying to avoid me now. Go ahead.
No.
You're on a roll
The
today.
Senate Minority Leader, Mitch McConnell.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Okay.
I'm just going to sit back and watch. Go.
You can listen on this one. Senator McConnell, who in the past I have done a certain amount of defending of the man.
Certain amount.
We agree. Now, because of that, you know, my occasional
Worship
leaning
the
to the
ground you
right on
walked
that.
on.
No, let's not push that one. Senator McConnell came out with a statement. Come up here, Henry. He came out with a statement basically saying he would hope that the House does not impeach Biden because impeachment should be a very rare activity and not something that both sides do. Now, Senator, with all due respect, and in this case I've got none for you, with all due respect, the fact that they have information on Biden, which is true, would be a good reason for impeachment. The fact that they had nothing on Trump and it was all made up, that may be the false ones. But in this particular case, the impeachment is necessary because this group has risked American lives, risked our country, all for their own personal gain. So that's a fact, Senator McConnell.
Which group?
The Biden crime family.
Alleged.
The true alleged Biden crime family.
So, you've got McConnell has said no. Rand Paul has said no.
Yes, he has.
McCarthy has effectively said no.
McCarthy has not effectively said no.
Oh, really?
Really, thank you.
So where's the one from June?
I don't recall that one.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, you're quoting something I don't recall.
Marjorie
So,
Taylor Greens.
Marjorie
Tell me
Taylor
you didn't know that she didn't file articles of impeachment?
Oh, I'm fully aware she did.
Where are they?
They're in committee.
They're being studied so that we can send letters to, I joke about this, but that's exactly their line all the time. Well, we're not sure there's enough evidence to move forward. What more do you need? All right. Again, we
You're using
disagree
language
on
which
this,
is inappropriate.
but here's the other part of it. I can give you 330 million reasons why it needs to happen now. Because if we don't take care of this now and he is compromised,
Please explain to me, and I'm not arguing that he shouldn't be impeached because I believe he should be. The question is when, and the fact of the reality is it's never going to happen any more than it happened to Trump.
here's what I would do. I would impeach him now. We both agree it's never going to get to the point where he's taken out.
No, we agree.
That is not going to happen.
Nope.
But you're sending a message now. Now, work with me here.
I'm listening with
You're
great
talking about
anticipation.
now, next spring's coming along, what you're talking about.
Right.
Who is going to be on trial in 4 places next spring? That would be Mr. Trump.
Except the difference there is Mr. Trump has already said if he can get indicted one more time, he's guaranteed the presidency.
Oh, he's already guaranteed it unless they play games.
Because
that's
so that one doesn't work.
That's when you go to the Hunter Biden thing. Because you've got to remember, they've got multiple ways to get Biden on an impeachment. This isn't just one thing. This is a crime syndicate going on.
I've got you going there now.
You think they don't have multiple avenues to impeach? Do the same thing to the Biden. My point all along has been, you do eye for an eye. You do to the Bidens what's happening. You just you hit them now, you hit them 6 months from now, you hit them next October or a year from October. Because that's the game plan they are playing. And they have played for 40 years
Now, I understand the need to play the hand that's dealt you. And that's exactly what you're talking
They've
about.
been handed a 4-of-a-kind, all aces.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. The level that you're playing. For example, if you're fighting a guerrilla war, you don't stand in the open and fight them. You fight a guerrilla war. You play the hand you're dealt.
At this point.
Okay. So I understand that part. But tactically, I still disagree with 1 or 2 impeachments when one in the spring loaded would just make much more of an impact.
Yeah, and that's where we disagree, because I think it's having a dramatic impact right now. You're going to see people just walk away. People like me, Bill. I know you don't want to believe that. If Trump's the nominee, I will vote for Trump. I will not vote for any Republican other than him, because they don't effing do anything. Why would the argument? Well, it's not the Democrats, and you're just handing it to them. Okay. At this point, what difference does it make? They've given in every single step of the way since they took over the House.
I'm going to take you back. I'm going to give you for a minute. I'm going to let you run with that theory, though I disagree with it, and we'll start there, okay? But I'm going to give you that.
Oh, boy, here we go.
Are you better off, and we'll talk about a candidate.
Okay.
Are you better off with a candidate who will support you 50% of the time, or a candidate who's going to vote against you 100% of the time?
Here's my answer. They're not even doing 50% right now.
It's not what I asked. Don't change the question.
No, because that's a loaded question. Bill, that's the question you want to ask, because you know there's only one answer. They aren't doing anything. No, the question is, do I want to vote for someone who says, I'm going to do all this stuff and never does? Or am I going to vote for someone that I know is going to do stuff against me? 6 of one, half dozen of another, in my opinion. They aren't doing anything. Name one thing this Congress has done, this House, to stop Biden. One.
That's not a fair question, because I have so many choices.
If I wouldn't get hit with a copyright strike, I would have run the Jeopardy theme right then.
And you still might.
One.
They have fought. Well, first of all, they were somewhat tied down by the Senate.
No, you can't. One thing. Give me one. Don't give me excuses. One thing they've done.
No, there's a lot. I'm just trying to figure out which one is the best answer for you. They have taken steps on social programs. They have taken steps in...
You're reaching, my friend.
No, I'm not. Militarily. We've done more in the military side of it than we have done in a while.
Yeah. We've got wokeness in the military. We've got transgenders getting free operations in the military. Keep going. We're out of ammunition in the military. We're getting Chinese boats off our shores. That's not a win.
It's just the fault of a party without the power to stop it.
They cannot count. Oh, stop it! Remember that old silly putty? You could stretch it. Mm-hmm. You've outdone that one. Okay. One. I'm still waiting. No, that's not a win. Give me one. Show me one time where they stood up to Biden and said, "No, you're not getting it."
I'm trying to remember. There was a big
thing.
There
is none.
There is one.
We can't go back to the Clinton administration.
That's not fair.
But it's true.
I was going actually back. I was actually going back to Lincoln.
No, Reagan got a few things.
There you go.
You get my point.
George
right?
Bush.
You should be able to go. They did this, 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 and this. They could have fought on the budget. They caved. They could have fought on sending Ukraine money. They've caved. They could have fought on.
Wait a minute. The fact of the matter is.
I need a drink. Hold on. You're making
Ding,
me drink.
ding, 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 ding,
Go on.
ding, ding. The fact of the matter is, they have not approved any money going to Ukraine. That last time came out of the Senate before the House before they took over, and they have said they will not spend any more money there without accountability, and that's the fact. That's happened.
Ooh, what are they going to do?
You see, you can't convince someone that doesn't want to be convinced.
No, I want.
No, you don't.
I want to be convinced. I want you to show me one thing, Bill, and you're straining, and you know it.
No, I'm not straining. I'm running out of time, unfortunately. I just got the 2-minute signal.
Well, when we come back from break, we'll open with this, because that'll give you about 10 minutes as we take our break. He knows I have him, and he knows he's effed, okay? Because there is zero they've done.
That's not true.
Okay, I don't want to hear about piddly little, oh, we passed an act. No. Where did they stop them?
Several
Again,
places.
see? Even Greta's going to give up, Bill. You have no chance here, okay?
I think it's this time we're going to wrap the show up for this segment.
No, this segment, not the show.
And we will be back to further discuss his inane attacks against the Republican Party. This is Bill and Dan, and see you next
It's not
segment.
the party. That's not fair.
Welcome back to Reclaiming America. We're having a great old time here. We owe you an answer to the last question, which was...
you owe them an answer.
We are a team.
Go ahead.
What have the Republicans done since they've taken over to stop the Biden administration? And if you look at the reality of it, they're blowing as many roadblocks up as they possibly can because they can't pass any legislation to change anything. They have done, I don't know how many hearings.
What?
The Senate, that they have to
We
get
don't care
two
about,
people.
I'm talking about the House.
And I'm telling you, they can't. They're putting roadblocks up to what's going on. For example, I'll give you one you're going to love. They just passed a bill and sent it forward to save our stoves.
That's the one you're coming out with after 15 minutes of research. That's the one. All right, I will bow down and admit I've lost. They saved the stoves.
They're saving them. They can't get it passed. It's got to go to the Senate, like I said, which is the problem. And then the president's going to veto the stove thing, and they can't override it.
I will give you the win on this. If that's your win.
No, if you didn't listen to what I said. Their job was to put roadblocks up and slow down his administration, which they're doing at every possible way they can. Not to mention the number, and I literally mean the number of hearings that have gone out there to expose things that we never knew about.
Stoves. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to get past that. Oh, sorry. Well played, sir. Well played.
They could have taken my way, which is I've taken my gas stove and made it trans-electric. So I've solved the problem. My stove is now officially trans-electric.
Next segment, because I can't do this anymore.
We'll go to the next step.
I bow and defer to you on the stoves. You win. I can't stop laughing. Sorry. Go on.
I'm trying to keep a straight face.
Wow. Go on.
Okay, let's move on a little bit.
Where are we
and let's
going?
head to
You're going to Utah, aren't we? Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Now,
we got to be careful, though.
Yeah, we need to talk about the FBI's pre-dawn raid to a 300-pound man's house who runs around on a cane with their flashbang and knock down the door, and here we come. Mm-hmm. Now, I will grant you, after reading what the man posted online, and basically I'm going to paraphrase it, which was, the president is coming to my state. Yeah. Maybe I should dust off my sniper rifle. And,
not good stuff to say.
That's a threat.
Absolutely it was. No
and I understand the FBI showing up to talk to him. However, I do not know if it was necessary to knock down his door at 6 o'clock in the morning, run in with a number of FBI agents, throw flashbangs and whatever else they've got to disturb the house. Now, the man, unfortunately, was killed, and the official word is he was turning in their direction holding a pistol or a weapon.
Which may or may not be true. We
have not seen any documentation.
We do not know one way or the other.
But
And we
I
never
think
will.
it was a case of overkill, which ended with someone
Pun
dying.
intended.
Yeah, and again, I'm not defending what he wrote,
I mean, he absolutely needed to be taken into custody, in my viewpoint.
and have a conversation with him. I agree.
Question one: why is the FBI doing the raid? Who protects the president?
It's solely the Secret Service.
Secret Service. Who's supposed to respond to threats to the president? The Secret Service. Question one: why is the FBI doing it? Where was the Secret Service? Now, to be
They're
fair,
at the beach protecting him, and
to be fair, maybe they were there and we just don't know.
that's
Right?
true.
We're
We can
going
give
by
them that.
reporting. We don't know.
And they may have been rounded off by an FBI team from
Who
the area.
knows,
That's
right?
possible.
But again, that's a question I want answered. Where was the Secret Service? And it may be that the answer was they were working together, and that's fine. But I want to know that. Number
And-
one.
Was there not an opportunity to get in contact with the man and simply say, "Will you surrender"? You know, the man doesn't have a record as far as I know.
So if you're showing up at his house,
At Old Dark
I've
30.
never been on, the FBI SWAT team or HRT or whatever they call it, but I got to think they surrounded the building. The
Sure
guy
they
was
did.
going nowhere. At that point, is the threat neutralized? Pretty much. I mean, what's he going to... I'm talking about to the president.
To the president, absolutely, and
neutralized,
to
right?
the neighbors, 99%.
So, again, yes, you need to take action. Wholeheartedly agree. Take this very seriously. Do you need to toss in a flashbang and go get him? Wait him out.
Or call and say, "Hey, listen, we got you surrounded. Let's settle this peaceably."
Exactly. Now, again, maybe they did some of that. But I'm trying to be polite, Bill.
Unfortunately, the FBI has not run a track record to get that kind of support.
Well,
lately.
I also would argue if you're showing up at 6 a.m. and going right in, you didn't do that, right?
I doubt they called.
Surround the building, fair enough. And then, like you said, call them up, say, you're surrounded. Come on
You
out.
got no choice. Put your hands up, open the door, step up with your hands
And
up.
I'm not
whatever.
trying to defend this guy in any way, shape, or form. Because this has happened to other people.
Unfortunately, too often.
Hello.
And some of them did not deserve the raid.
Right.
Let's start with Trump.
Why did I know you were going there? Well, I was going to go back to Waco.
Well, yeah, well, that's another one.
There's another one.
But if you want to talk about a pre-dawn raid into someone's home who you had already been invited into, who you've already looked at all these stuff, you asked him to put a lock on the door, which he did, and now you raid him because he's going to throw it all away, and then you break in at pre-dawn, and you wait till he's away.
Yeah, well,
But you don't let his lawyers watch what you're doing. There's something wrong with every one of these things. And then go to Waco. Go ahead. I'll give you that
Well,
one.
Waco, for those that don't know, it's 20-odd years ago now. The FBI basically went in when they didn't need to. I'm just going to leave it at that. Again, going back to this particular story, or that one, they have the situation contained. There was no reason to go in. It kind of, you're going to love me for saying this, but it kind of goes to what the left's argument is that the police need to be held accountable. And we're saying, believe it or not, we're basically in agreement with them on this particular point. I'm not saying defund them or anything like that, but they do need to be held accountable for this. Where's the body cam footage? Is there body cam footage?
With this kind of a raid, there better be.
I would hope so. What do you want to bet? The batteries suddenly were dead when they tried to go in, this didn't need to happen. And this guy was what? I forget how old he was. He was an older man.
Yeah.
300 pounds, like you said.
And on a cane. So he wasn't running
disabled
anywhere.
Effectively. The key point being the threat to the president was neutralized at that point. Why are they going in? I don't get it. Now, there may be legit reasons. I'm not saying there's not, but we need to hear those. And I haven't heard a thing about this, and it happened a couple days ago.
No, I haven't heard a thing about it.
I haven't heard anything.
And they're kind of wrapping it up, and it's really not being covered.
Well, now why would that be, Bill?
Could it be because it's the left again with the FBI who is it become an agent of the left?
Did you ever think when you were, the FBI didn't exist when you were younger. When I was younger. I had to get that shot in there. All kidding aside.
Look, the Minutemen were there.
Did you ever think we would be looking at the FBI like this?
No, I didn't. We've always them as the premier law enforcement agency
yeah.
above board anywhere.
I was having a conversation with someone about exactly this. When we were growing up, and the person was the same age as me, 60 years old. When we were growing up, you remember Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. and
Yep,
the
and the
FBI
FBI.
and all that.
I remember reading about it.
And you looked up. I actually thought about becoming an FBI agent at one point. You looked up to the FBI, like you said, they were the premier law enforcement organization in the world.
If you will, they would take the term that they used to use in the 20s. They were the untouchables.
They were.
You could trust anything they said, and Hoover, for all his
Hoover had some issues. We're not denying those. We'll just leave them at that.
But for the most part, outside the city of Washington, those agencies ran as properly as they could possibly run, given the human frailties.
Yes. And they were. There were some shenanigans going on, but generally they were above board. The rank and file, absolutely, I would say, was above board across everywhere. Now, geez, I'm waiting to see what happens with the agents. Are they going to start walking away like you're seeing in the military,
or even in our police departments nowadays?
Oh, they can't even recruit.
They can't get anybody to join anywhere.
You look at how bad it's gotten, and you look at that one officer who didn't respond fast enough. He got put on trial. You talk about the one in Florida. You talk all over. There's millions of places. Well, not millions, but dozens of places now where cops. The one in Minneapolis, he stood by, so now he's got 5 years in jail. When you got again, I don't know all the particulars, but you got a mob of people, and they expected him to let them through.
Yeah, and not only that, and half of them have got one of these running.
Yeah, so
they're filming every action you take.
If I'm a police officer now, I'm off the job tomorrow. Because of that. Locally there's a police officer that's getting charged with stuff, and 2 years ago he was a hero.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we've reached that point where I was against body cams when they first came out, but I really think for the protection of the officers, they're a good thing.
That's actually why I was for them.
Yeah, because I was worried they'd be used the wrong way. But right now, for the protection of the officers, they need those body cams.
Yeah, I was never against them for that reason. I felt it actually was better for the officers to have them because it eliminates a lot of the he said, she said type stuff.
Yeah, and they won a few cases once they showed the body cams.
They're actually, this is outdated info, but like a year ago I was reading into that, and it's like 10-1 in their favor. It's showing the cops for all the complaints. So for every 10 complaints, they're finding that the cops were completely innocent. Nine out of 10 of them
they're doing the right thing.
So, I was never against body cams. I actually think they should be used in other situations more. Like, say, the Department of Social Services when they go into houses.
That would be nice.
These are people that are walking in to tear apart people's lives, potentially, right? Their job is to take care of the elderly, take care of children, whomever. Valid job. I'm not saying it's not. But there's no accountability. Those people have an awful lot of power to destroy a family. And
on their say-so.
On their say-so. So why aren't we holding them accountable is another. That said, I'm not a huge fan of, we have a camera literally on every building at this point.
We're getting to the point where we're getting to be like Britain.
I think we're past
CCTV.
Yeah, well, I think we're past that at this point. You can't travel anywhere without being tracked.
Oh yeah, well this is
if you think they're not tracking your phone,
it's absolutely correct.
They've already been found tracking it. Oh, by the way, I got to
287,000.
That reminds me, I got to check into that Facebook thing because they just settled for $700 million. I heard.
Oh, you think you owe you money
for doing stuff? You'll get like 15 cents.
That's before
Considering
taxes.
They have 2 billion users, so if every person got a cut of that $700 million, it works out to about 30 cents a person.
And that's before they take the legal cut, which is 1/3 of that money. On an average.
Lawyers don't do that, do they, Bill?
Oh, I think they might.
But, yeah, I'm really sad about the situation. Again, I am not defending this guy in any way, shape, or form. He absolutely needed to be held accountable, needed to be arrested, tried, convicted. He never got to that point.
He didn't get his day in court.
No, and again, their argument against it would be, well, he pulled a gun. Okay, but he wouldn't have had to pull the gun if they never went in.
Or they tried Plan B.
you see this happening more and more. And, you think about was it Breonna Taylor case? Look, again, why didn't they sit outside there? To be fair on that, right? I mean, I don't agree with how it all came out, but why did they go in? There was no threat. It makes you wonder sometimes. I mean, I'm a big defender of the police, but they got to rethink some of this stuff.
Well, unfortunately, it may not be the police. It may be the orders they're getting from higher.
Well, of course it is. I think the average agent is still as reputable as they were. I genuinely believe that. I mean,
And I do
obviously
too.
there's exceptions.
And I do too. But I think when you get outside, let's go to the FBI for a minute. When you get outside the field offices in the city or New York City or in D.C. or Chicago or San Francisco, those other field agencies are just regular people trying to do a regular job and doing their job very simple.
Yep.
We happen to have a friend of ours that is a retired field agent who was actually in charge in the Northeast of an office, and one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet, and I would trust him implicitly with my life.
Mm-hmm.
And he's more of an example than the exception.
I'd be curious to see what he would say about the situation.
It would be interesting.
Maybe we should get him on.
Maybe not.
Just saying, it would be interesting to hear it.
Well,
They have him on CNN and they have him on MSNBC, but anyway.
MSDNC.
Speaking of which, did you see Pelosi on MSNBC?
No, would you tell me about
that was
Pelosi and
freaking
MSDNC?
hilarious. Oh my God. She got new dentures.
Well, that's because her fangs were getting stuck.
I can't really go. She's talking like this, though. It was hilarious. It was so bad. Even the host was like, "Oh dear God!" I mean, you could see it on her face. That this witch hunt against the Bidens, and they're just blowing. Oh my, Belle, you got to go watch it. It is. I was like, even the most hardcore left winger had to be looking at that going, what?
Did you see Uptuck Charles? Todd
Chucky?
actually admit that Governor Abbott was right?
Yeah, I saw that.
That was just a great thing to happen. He finally admitted that the governor and DeSantis from Florida were right by sending all these illegals to go to blue cities and sanctuary
Migrants,
cities,
Bill.
illegal aliens, to go to these cities. And suddenly all those sanctuary cities are screaming, we can't handle it. The state of Connecticut is screaming they want money, and they only got 20,000 of them, and they can't handle it. New York City is actually getting federal funds, which upset Gillibrand out of Arizona, who said they have 50,000, we have literally hundreds of thousands, and
I know.
we don't get a dime. But then again, we're a red state, not a blue state. And that's the problem.
It's funny how they were all for being sanctuary cities and states until the rooster came home to roost.
There's an old country song, I was country before country was cool. Well, they were sanctuary cities before it stopped being cool.
There's that new country song out too. Which is really
I heard that.
good.
I haven't heard the song yet, but I heard it's
haven't?
pretty good. No.
Oh, my friend, you have to listen to that song. And I don't like country music at all. Excellent song.
Okay, we shall endeavor to
We
listen.
can't play it because copyright.
Copyright laws.
Although he might allow it. I don't know. I'm going to check on that. Because then we'll play it and get your reaction. Stay tuned. He might allow. It's been on Twitter. So who knows?
Can we just copy Twitter?
We could put it on Twitter. Maybe I gotta look. I don't know. I don't want to. Honestly, I don't believe in breaking copyright law. So
I believe in bending them so
the
they don't
musician
break.
in me. What?
You don't break a law; you bend it so it doesn't break.
Is that why you drive 95 miles an hour?
Not moi. I'm the one that got in trouble for asking the Secretary of Attorney General if I could ignore laws like he does.
No, what you really got in trouble for literally was reading a paragraph out of the New York Times.
Right.
mean-
That conservative group.
And they didn't spank you for copyright. They spanked you for spreading medical misinformation.
COVID 101.
Which, by the way, I did still see that when Mr. Biden said that you cannot get COVID if you've gotten the shot, it's still up.
Oh.
Wonder how that one's allowed, but we can't literally read an article from the New York Times.
The good news is he's not twins.
Yeah, the bad news is if he goes, look what we got.
I'm not sure. We may actually be better off, and that's really hitting the bottom of that barrel.
Hold on, I gotta do the slow turn again. Did you just say what I think you
I
said?
think I said it because
You think we only have 1 minute left? You think? Oh, time out. You think we'd be better off with?
look, we already know he's not running the country. We already know he's not running the country at all.
Yeah, I agree.
So, what difference if we put another parrot in there and let someone else, and they can squawk and do what they want to do, and they still continue running? We have to deal with who's actually running the operation. You know.
You just made the argument for impeachment.
With that,
On that
I
note,
think we're going to shut down this episode and tell you that we'll be back again
Maybe.
with another issue of, or another episode of Reclaiming America, where hopefully Dan will not get banned, and Dan will tell you where we can be found.
oh, we're going there. Okay, I'm still laughing at some of the stuff. Spotify, YouTube, TikTok. Although TikTok's not too happy with us right now.
What did you do now?
Not me. He's the cowboy on TikTok. You should follow our TikTok. What little they let us put up.
The old guy.
The OG. You
yeah.
gotta say you're a wog,
I'm a wog.
white old guy. But really, where you should follow us is on X, Twitter, or whatever the hell. I'll never stop calling it Twitter, because
Because he's a twit.
yeah, I'm a twit who tweets. Because we put all of our stuff that we can up here. This show, eventually, if Elon ever goes long form, will be on Twitter. And probably it'll only be on Twitter.
We need to get on Parler, though.
Parler.
Absolutely.
It's not even I mean, it probably is still around, but what do you want to be on MySpace too now? Parler. On that
Good
note,
night, everybody, and we'll see you next
have
time.
an awesome week. We'll catch you next time. What?